Hello, my lovely rose garden. I'm Avalon.
And I'm Ray.
And we just read the biggest plot twist of something very small because it was not a big plot twist at all.
Anyway, let's continue.
If Elisicles had the capacity to feel stupid, she should feel really stupid right now.
Yeah.
Cain, the person who'd gotten strong. Oh, sorry, it's chapter 42. The person who'd gotten stronger and better as the competition went on. She'd thought it was his training, but it was because he'd been using the word marks and the beast they summoned to steal the dead champion's strength. See, I could forgive you for thinking that it was the training, like, maybe the first 2 or 3 times it happened.
Yeah.
But since he has been described as being preternaturally just bulky and like rippling muscles, there's only so much that lifting weights can do.
After that, it's just steroids.
He's been taking the magic steroids, and I think we should have realized that a bit sooner, Elisicles. Little slow on the uptake, but that's okay. The last horse has crossed the finish line. He dragged a hand across the floor before the darkness, and a greenish light sprung up from where his fingers passed before being sucked into the void like wraiths on the wind. One of his hands was bleeding.
Okay.
Am I the only one imagining the human transmutation scene from just in green instead of red and purple?
Yummy.
She didn't dare to breathe as something stirred in the darkness. There was a click of claw on stone and a hiss like an extinguished flame. And then, stepping toward Cain on knees that bent the wrong way, like an animal's hind legs, the Ritterak emerged.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. The knick-knack paddywhack emerged.
That's better.
I will give credit where due. I really like the click of claw on stone. I find the alliteration there very appealing. Hiss like an extinguished flame. That's a really nice auditory descriptor. But then we get to knees that bent the wrong way, and I'm like, they're not bent like an animal's hind legs. Okay, once again, we're having that misconception of where the hind legs on animals like cats and dogs, or where the hind legs, where the knees on the hind legs of animals like cats and dogs are, where people always do like, oh, the werewolf transformation and their knees bend backwards. No, they don't.
That's their heels.
Have you actually looked at the bone structure of a mammal?
That's their heels.
That's the heel. What you think is the knee is their heel.
Yeah, their knees are like up here. They're their haunches.
Yeah, the knees are typically in line with the belly.
Yeah.
And then the knee curves back into the heel, which is the part that goes down. Like, I'm looking at our cat right now. Hi, Winnie. And she looks back at me and she's like, what am I doing? What? Daddy. I heard Daddy and I came. Here.
But yeah, like, Winnie's knee is right here.
Yeah, Winnie's knee is right there.
Ticklish knees.
Yeah, she's like running around trying so we don't touch her knees. You don't shave above the knee like a harlot.
You don't shave at all.
And with that said, I am not reading after. I read it once. I think I reviewed it on my old channel. I'm not reading it again. Not even for patrons. I think I read it on patron request. And I'm not doing it again. I just wanted to have Winnie say something stupid.
But yeah,
anyway.
So yeah. That's not how animal legs work.
And I'm like, damn it. You had some good description. Right up until that totally took me out. Like, you know what does have knees that bend that way? Like, I think birds, actually.
Yeah.
That's where their knee is.
Yeah.
You know, but saying animals' hind legs animal is typically considered to be more synonymous with mammal, especially if you're saying that it's the wrong way. Well, it's like, not the wrong way in a bird.
And, it makes sense with a bird because that's not a mammal.
Yeah. They didn't evolve that way.
Yeah.
It also makes sense for them to have their knees
there. They evolved to be able to roost.
Yeah. So anyway, the knick-knack paddywhack, let's get a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
It was something out of an ancient god's nightmares.
Okay. Well,
meaningless.
Yeah, I'm just like, wouldn't this be like the ancient god's old DeviantArt?
Yeah.
Is sort of like a nightmare, but more like just like a...
It's like, oh, don't look at that.
Don't look at that.
Speaking of things I don't want you to look at.
I was 13.
Speaking of things I don't want you to look at, we forgot to do a plug in the last video. But if you become a supporter of Roselin books, you can look at my old DeviantArt. Essentially, I did post this story on DeviantArt, and it's gone. That DeviantArt is gone now, but I have the story. It remains. And we've been reading it. And I'm also rewriting it. And that will be exclusive supporter content. You will never see those videos unless you are a supporter, starting at just $2 a month on Patreon or Ko-fi, or even as a member of the YouTube channel, which I finally did the final step to finalize memberships on here because I forgot to click a button. So you can now become a member of the channel. And for $2 a month, you have access to my shame. So you can point and laugh at me the way I point and laugh at this.
Anyway.
And moving on.
Let's describe this knick-knack paddywhack.
Its hairless gray skin was stretched tightly across its misshapen head, displaying a gaping mouth filled with black fangs.
Misshapen how? You need to go into specifics here.
Yeah, this is a little big. Ancient gods' nightmares. Like, that's the kind of thing where I'm just like dicking around. That's like my placeholder description. Mm-hmm. Where I'm like, oh, it's like Eldritch or some shit. And I'll figure out exactly what that means later. Fangs that had ripped out and eaten Varen and Xavier's internal organs. Fangs that had feasted on their brains. Its vaguely human body sank onto its haunches, and it slid its long front arms across the stone floor. Okay. If it's bipedal and humanoid and its knees are...
But it has haunches.
But it has haunches, which is not compatible with... I know there's a word, there's an anatomy term for when the knee does that instead of that, but I can't think of it right now, and I'm not going to Google.
I'm just mentally being like, it's a werewolf.
Yeah.
It's a werewolf.
It's a bald werewolf.
You know, like, it's kind of like American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining. That kind of werewolf.
That's all I can picture right now. It's like a gray-skinned that.
Yep. The stones whined under the claws. Cain raised his head and stood slowly as the creature knelt before him and lowered its dark eyes. Submission.
Is he gonna fuck that werewolf?
See, yeah, I'm sitting here like, oh, we entered a new genre. Good for him.
Now I'm a little interested.
Now I'm on. Now you've thrown me off my rhythm.
Are you gonna fuck that werewolf?
Please fuck that werewolf.
Please fuck that werewolf.
Elizabeth only realized she was trembling when she made to step away, to flee as far and fast as she could.
Yeah, you don't want to see this.
Lena had been right. This was evil, plain and simple. Now don't be homophobic. The amulet pulsed at her neck as if urging her to run. Her mouth dry, her blood pounding in her veins, she stepped back. Cain whirled to look at her, and the knick-knack paddywhack's head shot up, its slitted nostrils sniffing twice. She froze, but as she did so, a massive wind shoved into her from behind, making her stagger into the room. So Cain's also just a magic user in general. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, those fucking word marks is like outside of magic shit. This is just magic.
It's just magic. Or is it alchemy's not technically magic? Shut the fuck up, Edward. Anyway, so I will say...
It's science.
Shut up, Shorty.
Sure. Sure.
I am amazed that I have not seen that song with Edward Elric yet.
Envy needs to be singing it.
Yeah.
You a short motherfucker and nobody likes you.
Shut Someone go forth and make that so. Anyway, there is something to be said for less is more when describing something of this nature. Because what you can describe will never be as scary as what the reader can imagine.
Yeah, but at the same
But
time, like, come on now.
let me
Yeah.
let me cook.
Yeah.
But the thing to do in that kind of situation is, instead of describing the thing half-assedly, like it's an ancient god's nightmares, it's misshapen, it has claws. Instead of describing that,
Claws.
big meaty claws. Instead of describing that, just describe the psychological and physical effect that it has on the characters. Like, this bitch has not been able to keep anything in her stomach that's not candy for so much of this book.
Yeah, how is she able to keep
Like,
all that candy down?
She should be so put off and disturbed and just overcome with instinctual fear for survival that she's not able to be stealthy. That she just retches at the sight of this thing.
Yeah, I'm just so like, you've been throwing up at like everything. Come on now. At least throw up for a time when it fucking means something. Other than you having a weird kind of,
other than Kane just supernaturally knowing she's there. But yeah, like, if you have some kind of creature or monster or entity that defies description, don't try to describe it. Describe the effect it has on the character that's perceiving it. That will... I don't say this lightly, I guarantee it will come off better to the reader. Don't try to visualize something that's not meant to be perceived with visual senses. Like, also, talk about the fucking smell.
yeah.
There's some really good auditory descriptions, and we could have it be like, focusing on these auditory descriptions because Selena cannot physically bring herself to look at this thing. Like, you know how in nightmares, when you're running away from a monster, and like, even if you want to look back at it, you can't. Like, your dream won't let you. It could be like that, where like her body just won't look at it. Like, even if she's trying just so she can satisfy that curiosity of what the fuck this thing is, that she physically cannot make herself look at it. And like, that dissonance of your body disobeying you can be very horrifying. So there's a lot that could be done here. There was some good description being given where it's like, okay, focus on that because there's no visual.
Yeah.
Focus on the smell, the sound. Fucking
something.
But like, there's no smell. There's no touch, except for, oh, she realizes she's trembling. Like, no, show me, tell me, like, her heart feels like it's being gripped in a vice, or she doesn't know if she's standing or if she's collapsed because she can't feel her body anymore. Like, that shit is so terrifying. This could be a really scary encounter. God damn it. Maybe it's just the horror writer in me coming out, but this is so... It's just a gray werewolf is all I can picture now, because that's all we've got here is it's gray, it's got claws and fangs, and it has haunches. And it has haunches. It's got... And it's, I guess, it's
vaguely human-esque looking.
Yeah, it's human-ish, but like, it's on all fours, maybe.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, goddamn, would it kill you to just look up a Silent Hill monster? It wasn't meant to be you tonight, Kane said, but Elisicles' eyes remained on the beast, who began panting. But this opportunity is too good to go to waste.
It's panting. It's literally a werewolf.
It's a dog, yeah. It's a fucked up dog.
A not dog, if you will. That Kane is allegedly going to fuck. Let's go.
Kane, was all she could say. The knick-knack paddywhack's eyes. She'd never seen anything like them. There was nothing in them but hunger, endless, ageless hunger. The creature was not of this world. The word marks worked. The gates were real. She pulled the makeshift knife out of her pocket. It was pitifully small. How could hairpins make a dent in that creature's hide? I don't know. It's just gray skin, right?
Yeah, it's like skin.
Is it like insect-like armor plating?
And it's stretched tight against it, so like it would be much easier than if it had like loose skin, like, you know, a bully breed of dog, which were trained to like fight things with teeth that could puncture. It's like, yeah, you could easily stab this thing.
Kane moved so quickly that she could only blink before he was behind her, her knife somehow now in his hand. No one human could move that quickly. It was as if he were no more than shadows and wind.
He has magic.
He literally blew you in here.
Yeah.
Pity, Kane whispered from the doorway, pocketing her knife. Alissacles glanced to the creature, to him, and then back. I'll never get to know how you wound up down here in the first place. His fingers wrapped around the door handle. Not that I care. Goodbye, Alissacles. The door slammed shut. What a weird thing to say. If you don't care. Shut up. And he just leaves her in there with it.
Well, yeah.
He just walks away.
He's not going to confirm that this thing will kill her, because that would be what a smart villain would do.
Also, it wasn't supposed to be you tonight. Then why was the shit under her bed? Who is even left? Nox? No, Nox went home, I think.
No, that was,
No, I know Pellar went home, but I thought Nox also, later went home.
You don't remember.
I don't know. No one else fucking matters anyway. The greenish light still seeped from the marks on the floor, marks Kane had etched with his own blood, illuminating the creature who stared at her with those starving, relentless eyes.
Just throw it like a few slices of bacon, it's fine. You want some bacon strips?
Kane, she whispered, backing into the door as she fumbled with the handle. She twisted and yanked. It was locked. There was nothing in this room but stone and dust. How had she let him disarm her that easily? Kane!
You're an assassin, the door wouldn't and you don't budge. Know how to pick locks.
For real. Kane, she shouted and banged on the door with a fist, hard enough to hurt. Why are you calling for him? Why are you not calling for, like, Elena? Or Nehemia, if you suspect that she's in on this? Or why would you be calling the guy who literally just closed you in here to die? What, you think he's gonna suddenly feel bad about it? God, this might be dumber than candy. Candy. The knick-knack paddywhack stalked back and forth on its 4 long, spidery limbs, sniffing at her. Now they're spidery limbs. Does it have haunches? Like, what the fuck?
Maybe it's just like thin.
Yeah, well, now it's, I don't know. Whatever, I'm just gonna imagine a werewolf.
It's just a fucking werewolf.
Sniffing at her, and Alissacles paused. Why didn't it attack immediately? It sniffed at her again, and swiped at the ground with a clawed hand, striking deep enough to take out a chunk of stone. It wanted her alive. Kane had incapacitated Varen while he summoned the creature. It liked its blood hot. So it would find the easiest way to immobilize her, and then... How does she know that? How does she know that?
She doesn't. It's the narrative giving the audience information that it failed to do so beforehand.
Also, it likes its blood hot. You're alive.
Yeah.
If it bites you, the blood will be hot. It doesn't really get hotter than that. She couldn't breathe. No, not like this. Not in this chamber where no one would find her, where Kaol would never know why she disappeared and would forever curse her for it, and where she'd never get the chance to tell Nehemia she had been wrong. Nehemia doesn't even know that you're thinking this about her.
Yeah.
Just don't bring it up. And Elena said someone wanted her in the tomb to see what? And then she knew. The answer lay on her right. Oh, this is the answers to your right thing. It just worked 2 times.
Uh-huh.
The right passageway, the passage that led to the tomb a few levels below. The creature sank back onto its haunches, poised to spring, and in that moment Alyssocles came up with the most reckless and brave plan she'd ever concocted. She dropped her cape to the floor. With a roar that shook the castle, bullshit, the knick-knack paddywhack ran for her. Alyssocles remained before the door, watching it as it galloped at her, sparks flying from its claws as they struck stone. 10 feet away, it leapt straight toward her legs. But Alyssocles was already running straight at those black rotting fangs. The knick-knack paddywhack jumped for her, and she hurtled over the snarling thing. A thunderous, splintering boom erupted through the chamber as the knick-knack paddywhack shattered the wooden door. She could only imagine what it would have done to her legs. She didn't have time to think. She landed and whirled, charging back to where the creature had crashed through the door and now sought to shake itself free of the pile of wood. Alright, so you did a very basic maneuver.
She pulled a Bugs Bunny on him.
Yeah.
She literally just had him run directly into the wall.
I am quite frankly surprised that she didn't hold up the cape like a bullfighter.
Olé!
And
let's go!
She just jumped over it like the freaking murals at Opa.
Opa!
Opa! She threw herself through the doorway and turned left, flying down the stairwell. I thought she was supposed to turn right. She'd never make it back to her chambers alive, but if she was fast enough, perhaps she could make it to the tomb. The knick-knack paddywhack roared again, and the stairwell shuddered. She didn't dare to look behind. She focused on her feet, on keeping upright as she bounded down the stairs, making for the landing below, illuminated by moonlight leaking from the tomb. Alyssocles hit the landing, ran for the tomb door, and prayed to gods whose names she'd forgotten, but who she hoped had not yet forgotten her. Now, as a pagan... the fuck?
What you mean?
Are you saying that you are more important than the gods? For you to forget them and they not to forget you? That's hubris. Famously not very popular amongst the gods. But this whole thing has been hubris.
Someone wanted me to come here on Samhain. Someone knew this would happen. Elena wanted me to see it so I could survive.
The creature hit the bottom landing and charged after her, so close she could smell its reeking breath. What does it fucking smell like?
It'd be cool if it was something like, rotting flesh or something, seeing as how it, is designed to kill things.
Yeah, like... Or if it smelled like one of the poisons from earlier, where, that is implying that it's venomous. Or if it just smelled, since it's not of this world, if it just smelled like whatever you associate with your worst fucking memories, because the olfactory sense is very closely tied to memory. Like, if it smelled like the salt mines. And as she's running through the tombs, she's, half in the tombs, but, half it's in Dovier, and she's struggling to keep, if your perception of reality is warped around this thing. Come on!
This is why it takes some level of skill to write Eldritch Horror well.
Because how fucking crazy... And you could even make it, more narratively significant with, hey, you didn't escape from Endovier, but you're escaping now. It comes full circle of...
Yeah.
God. And, when it roars, it could sound like the wardens at Endovier.
Yeah. Something.
It could be so much cool. If it's supposed to be an ancient god's nightmare... I don't find this to be something that would be particularly intimidating to the gods, to be honest.
It's it's a gray werewolf, guys.
The door to the tomb was wide open, as if someone had been waiting.
Please, please.
Grabbing onto the side of the doorway, she swung herself inside. She gained precious time as the knick-knack paddywhack skidded to a halt, missing the tomb. It only took a moment for it to recover and charge, taking off a chunk of the door as it entered. The pounding of her feet echoed through the tomb as she ran between the sarcophagi for Damaris, the sword of the ancient king. Displayed atop its stand, the blade shone in the moonlight, the metal still gleaming after 1,000 years. The creature snarled, and she heard its deep intake of breath and the scrape of nails departing stone as the knick-knack paddywhack leapt for her. She lunged for the sword, her left hand wrapping around the cool hilt as she twisted in the air and swung. She only had time to see its eyes and the blur of its skin before she drove Damaris through the knick-knack paddywhack's face. Pain lanced through her hand as they slammed into the wall and fell to the ground, scattering treasure. Black blood that stank of waste sprayed onto her. She didn't move, not as she stared at those black eyes barely inches from her own, not as she saw her right hand held between its black teeth, her blood already oozing down its chin. She just panted and shook, not taking her left hand from the hilt of the sword, even after those hungry eyes turned dull and its body sagged atop hers. So it was as easy as stabbing it with a sword. It was only when the amulet throbbed again that she blinked. Everything after that became a series of steps, a dance that she had to execute perfectly or else she'd fall apart right there in that tomb and never get up. She first pried her hand from its teeth. It burned mercilessly. An arc of gushing puncture wounds encircled her thumb. Just her thumb? And she swayed on her feet as she shoved the knick-knack paddywhack off her. It was surprisingly light, as if its bones were hollow or there were nothing inside of it. Though the world became foggy around the edges, she yanked Damaris from its skull. She used her shirt to wipe Gavin's blade clean and set it back where it belonged. That was why they'd brought her to the tomb on Samhain, wasn't it? So she could see Damaris and have a way to save herself. She left the creature where it lay in a crumpled heap atop piles of jewels. Whoever had wanted to save her could clean it up. She'd had enough.
Okay.
So it's not like...
Okay.
Please let her be poisoned. Because otherwise, if it's just her being bratty and being like, yeah, I'm not cleaning that up. I'm like, or consider, bitch, evidence? Proof of what's been killing people? Because you're gonna go up...
You're gonna pull out your iPhone and take a picture of it before it disintegrates or whatever?
Yeah, I'm like, because otherwise you're just gonna go upstairs and be like, ew, it's Cain, he did it. And he's gonna be like, no, I didn't. And you'll be right back where you were. Evidence. Tell all things. Oh. Still, Elisicles paused beside Elena's sarcophagus and looked at the beautiful face carved from marble. Thank you, she said hoarsely. Fucking finally. Her vision blurring, she left the tomb and staggered up the stairs, clutching her bleeding hand to her chest. When she was at last safely inside her chambers, Elisicles crossed to her bedroom door and leaned there, panting as she unlocked it. Her wound hadn't clotted, and blood was still pouring down her wrist. She listened to its drip onto the floor. She should go into the bathing room and wash her hand. Her palm felt like ice. She should... Her legs gave out, and Elisicles collapsed. Her eyelids became heavy, so she closed them. Why did her heart beat so slowly? Were it a merciful world, she would just be dead. And the rest of the book would be Kaol figuring out what happened.
Kaol's like, Jesus fucking Christ.
She opened her eyes to look at her hand. Her eyesight was blurry, and all she could make out was a mess of pink and red. The ice in her hand reached up her arm, down to her legs. She heard a booming, thunderous noise. A thump, 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 followed by a whine. Through her eyelids, she could see the light in the room darken. She heard a cry, female, and warm hands grabbed her face. She was so cold it almost burned. Had someone left the window open? Lillian! It was Nehemia. She shook Elisicles' shoulders. Lillian, what happened to you? Elisicles remembered little of the next few moments. Strong arms lifted her up and rushed her into the bathing chamber. Nehemia strained as she carried Elisicles into the bathing pool, where she stripped away Elisicles' clothes. Hello? I'm interested again. Alyssocles' hand burned when it touched the water, and she thrashed, but the princess held her firm, saying words in a tongue the assassin didn't understand. The light in the room pulsed, and her skin tingled. Alyssocles found her arms covered in glowing turquoise marks. Word marks. Nehemia held her in the water, rocking back and forth. Blackness swallowed her up. God, I wish they were together.
Cured by the power of lesbian love.
Let's go, lesbians.
Let's go, lesbians.
Oh, if only. But yeah, no shit. If the word marks can do this, why would the word marks not also be healing magic? You mistook your white mage for a necromancer. Not even a rookie mistake. You gotta try. You gotta try to fuck up that bad. And that's the end of chapter 42. The monster is revealed and dispatched within pages with one single sword stroke. I am not threatened by it in the slightest because it literally crashed through a door.
Just sad that Cain didn't get to fuck a werewolf.
I know.
He was ready. He was so ready.
He's gonna be so mad.
He's like, excuse me. Anyway, how many more chapters do we have?
See, if it was a Fey werewolf, we would have gotten to see a Fey wolf.
Then this would have turned into Omegaverse real fast.
I mean, give her this much. She's already establishing that there's portals to other worlds and shit, because apparently we're gonna have the fucking SJM CU. Well, not CU, because I guess the A Court of Thorns and Roses adaptation got canned. I have not been following that at all, so I don't particularly care. Shrug. Anywho, we made it through another fucking chapter. We're one step closer to the edge, and I'm about to break.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Before we go on another fucking
8, 9, 10 more chapters, and then the extras.
There's only 10 more chapters and then the extras?
Yes.
Oh my god.
We're so close.
Have I not been doing basic fucking math correctly? Because I thought there were 55 chapters.
Yeah, it would.
And we're on chapter 43.
Maybe I'm just very bad at counting.
It's possible.
Yeah. Such a
I think that the knick-knack paddywhack Eldritch fucked your brain so hard. Okay.
I wish.
Before we start ranting about anime again, we should probably call the video.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking with us. We have some number of chapters left.
We're so fucking close.
Keep growing till next time, Rose Garden.
Bye.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. My deepest gratitude goes out to my supporters, who you'll see on screen here and also in the description. If you'd like, you could become a member of the Rose Garden by supporting me on Patreon, Ko-fi, or by buying my books. And don't forget that for an indie author like me, every like, comment, and subscription is a huge help. Good night, my lovely Rose Garden.